You're watching 7 Action News, always taking action for you.
The Kilpatrick corruption case.
Is there a reason you only wiretapped Bernard?
An FBI agent is taking us inside the investigation.
You saw it first on 7 last night. Now,
Are you done with Kwame Kilpatrick?
we find out what happened behind the scenes in the courtroom.
The lead FBI agent in the Kilpatrick corruption case answering our questions about the historic investigation.
Tonight, new insight about what went on in the courtroom and whether the feds are done with Detroit's former mayor. 7 Action News investigator Heather Catallo joins us now. And Heather, normally FBI agents really don't like to talk to reporters. So how did you end up getting them to talk?
Well, I asked the FBI if Special Agent Bob Beckman would be willing to talk to us about what it was like to put this case together. And he agreed to speak on behalf of his team, in part because legally they've had to stay silent for so long, but mainly because he really wants everyone to know that the FBI cannot pursue cases like this without the public's help. 35 convictions in the City Hall corruption probe, and the feds finally snared the biggest fish of all, Detroit's former mayor, convicted of running a criminal enterprise out of City Hall. The case against Kwame Kilpatrick, his friend Bobby Ferguson, and his father Bernard Kilpatrick took nearly a decade to build, and FBI Special Agent Bob Beckman was the lead case agent at the center of the investigation from day one.
What was your first sense that something was amiss in the Kilpatrick administration?
Well, we had a number of different people who had given us information. There were sources that ranged from things like maybe another agent would have a case and there'd be a defendant that would cooperate, provide some information. Or someone would call with a complaint, or maybe another contractor would make a complaint and that sort of thing.
Special Agent Beckman has a passion for fighting public corruption, and going after the bad guys is in his blood. His father was a police officer, and before joining the FBI 17 years ago, Beckman worked as a prosecutor in Saginaw County.
If people engage in self-dealing and bribery and extortion like that, those kind of cases have ramifications far beyond Southeast Michigan. We don't want to be known for that kind of behavior.
Agent Beckman, the assistant U.S. attorneys, and his case partners at the EPA and IRS have worked non-stop for months preparing for the historic 5-month-long corruption trial, a trial with 91 witnesses, about 1,000 exhibits, and all those text messages.
What was your biggest fear during the trial?
I had several fears. I had your fear as a case agent is that you're going to have an empty witness chair and a witness hadn't shown up. You're going to have 12 people sitting there expecting you to present something and have nothing. So what we did in this case was double and triple and quadruple book. And so the witnesses that you saw on the witness stand in some cases had been sitting there in our waiting room for about 5 days. I guess the ultimate fear is that perhaps a jury might not find it persuasive and your work might not result in any convictions, but as we know, that didn't happen.
Did you have a moment where you were really worried?
I really didn't. I felt very confident in the evidence, and as did all my law enforcement partners.
Are you done with Kwame Kilpatrick?
Well, I'm going to sit back and watch the sentencing like everybody else. That's, am I done with Kwame Kilpatrick? Well, I think a RICO indictment and conviction, that speaks for itself. That ought to be the end of the line, unless, as an FBI agent, you never say, hey, I'm done investigating, because somebody could call me tomorrow with a hot tip and we would act on that.
It wasn't always easy getting witnesses to cooperate. In fact, it wasn't until Kwame Kilpatrick was out of office that the investigation really took off. And Special Agent Beckman says he can't stop corruption if the anti-snitch mentality in this region continues.
You can't assume that the FBI is just going to tap everyone's telephone and indict people. The way we tap people's telephones, if indeed we do go that route, is because we've talked to folks who've given us information that we put into an affidavit and we get a court order, okay? All those things take the cooperation of the people in Southeast Michigan. And without that, we have nothing. There is no case that's ever going to be brought against a public official if people don't pick up the telephone and call the FBI.
If you do have a crime to report, their phone number is 313-965-2323. And during our interview, Agent Beckman could not stress enough how much of a team they had. At one point, there were about 70 agents working on the case, not to mention all of the people at the U.S. Attorney's Office who were part of the investigation from the start. Just a colossal effort.
I guess I understand, too, kind of rare for an agent to be on a case for 8.5 years, like you said. Why did he want to stay on that long?
Well, as you could see, that Agent Beckman feels very strongly about public corruption, and he really thinks it has a very detrimental impact on our region. He makes a great point. If someone comes here trying to do business and a public official shakes them down, not only is that person not going to invest in Southeast Michigan, they're going to go back home and tell that story about Detroit for years. And that's why they really want to stop this culture of corruption. One of the witnesses in the trial who gave bribes, he said, "Oh, I'd heard that's how it was done in Detroit."
Oh, really?
I mean, so that has a bad...
And those are the costs that you can't calculate.
Absolutely.
And we've said that before. What it actually cost our city in terms of dollars is huge.
Absolutely.
All right.
Kind of
Thank you,
reinforces that old slogan, the FBI always gets their man. Right?
In this case,
In this
right?
case.
Yes.
Thanks,
certainly.
Heather.
Thank you.